就出名，
for sake of vanity,
但係嘅將嚟夠人 compromise， 係夠人受氣，夠人
he
還嘅。
can actually compromise everything, including his integrity.
有人哋食咩就頭整徛唔掉，
There are some people who cannot control himself when he sees food.
明明冇咗食，但係嗰度轉好食，強咁樣食落去，佢食啦死了不低。
There are so many things that he's not supposed to eat, but he just cannot withstand the pressure.
但係戰在人哋情欲個頭整徛唔掉，
There are so many, much more people who cannot withstand the pressure of sex,
特別是男嘅，
especially men.
咱常常啲情欲頂面失敗，失敗，各失敗，
So men failed again, time and again, on this aspect of sex.
所以咱需要實在嘅注意。
So this time we need to take extra care of this
深
matter.
信頭一個第度嘅失敗，啲性嘅關係頂面嘅失敗。
So failure in the sexual aspect is a key factor in Samson's downfall.
咱嚟看幾段嘅聖經，
Let's take a look at a few passages.
14章1到第3節，
14 chapter verses 1 to 3.
我就從下面嚟答。深信就講這個停那，地仔看到這個路嘅是非利士人嘅路主。深信就講俾老爸老母講，我哋停那嗰度這個路嘅是非利士人嘅路主，就後關於後關錯嚟追我嘅車主。伊老爸老母講，喺你兄弟誒十個家中間，喺本國嘅面中減無這個路嘅嗎？為什麼你介紹未受過呢非利士人嘅中間錯車主呢？深信對伊老爸講。關於後關錯這個路嘅，因為我快喜。
Samson went down to Timnah and saw there a young Philistine woman. When he returned, he said to his father and mother, I've seen a Philistine woman in Timnah. Now get her for me as my wife. His father and mother replied, Isn't there an acceptable woman among your relatives or among our people? Must you go to the uncircumcised Philistines to get a wife? One day,
你就嚟啫。One day 是你講啊，識啩？深信講了，加薩地仔看到這個記錄，就及於天官。
one day Samson went to Gaza where he saw a prostitute. He went in to spend the night with her.
第4節，後來深信地這個所列谷喜愛這個婦人人叫做大利拉。
Sometime later, he fell in love with a woman in the valley of Zorek whose name was Delilah.
這3段嘅經本講到深信愛細路嘅。
These 3 scriptural passages told us that Samson fell in love with 3 women.
頭一個是非利士人嘅路主。
The first one was a Philistine woman.
聖經講，伊看到伊知影，這個路係非利士人嘅路主。
The Bible reminded us that he saw this woman, he knew that this is a Philistine woman, and he fell in love with her.
伊甲佢父母講，未追。
So he told his parents about it, and the parents said no.
我記得頂禮拜我計講一句話嘅，唔是
I remember having told you something last week.
用現在話嚟講，
In contemporary terms,
伊父母甲佢講，
it's just like the parents telling him,
囊中先做嘅路係死了了吧？
have all the Christian women died?
囊中教會路，囊中死了了吧？
Have all the church sisters died?
跟住就佢錯未先做啊！
That you have to marry someone who's a non-Christian?
呢父母戰爭反對，
The parents really
因
objected
為
to
這
his
個是
decision
非利士嘅人，
because she's a Philistine woman.
但是深信只有這個理由，
But there's only one Samson that prevailed over Samson.
我歡喜，
I'm delighted by that.
我歡喜，
I love her.
我愛做什麼做什麼，
I want to do what I want to do.
這是咱嘅問題。
That's our problem.
我愛，
I wish it. I want it.
一個意思就係愛。
So indeed he
你
married
睇
her.
下深信是個拿撒利人，
You know that Samson is a Nazarite.
什麼叫做拿撒利人？
Who is a Nazarite?
是奉獻上帝好上主奉上帝嘅人。
He is offered to be of service to God.
在民數記第6章真真詳細記載，將這個拿撒利人真罪 rule and regulation。
There are many rules and regulations that control actually a Nazarite.
簡單嚟講，
If you say it in simpler terms,
拿撒利人嘅聖潔嘅標準是及當時多這是上官嘅標準。
we can say that the standards of holiness for a Nazarite is similar to that of a high priest.
你嗱關利未記第21章，
If you look at Leviticus,
這是未追錯記錄，
you know that priests cannot marry prostitutes.
這是未追錯咗間已經離婚了嘅路嘅。
Priests cannot marry a divorcee,
但是結婚係將你錯咗間寡婦。
but they can marry a widow.
但是多這是連寡婦都未追錯，
But the high priest, he cannot marry even a widow.
多這就只係追錯面中間嘅處女追太太，
He can only marry a virgin.
因為多這是嘅標準比這是更加貴。
Because the standard of holiness for the high priest is higher than that of an ordinary priest.
拿撒利人嘅標準及多這是嘅標準是相相。
The standards of holiness imposed on a Nazarite is similar to that of a high priest.
但是你看咪，
But if you take a good
深
look,
信所 阿耶路嘅當中都是唔是話幫人就是妓女，嗱唔是妓女就是已經結婚嘅人。
But you notice that the women that Samson fell in love with, they are either Gentiles, or they are prostitutes, or they are already married.
深信喺這個性嘅關係頂面真渣隨便。
On the sexual facet, Samson actually was very careless.
什麼原因？
Why is it so?
有兩個原因。
There are two reasons.
第一原因，
First,
深信係失敗地目照嘅情慾嘅頂面。
he failed because of the lust of the eyes.
14照第一節，
If you take a look at the first verse, 14
16
chapter,
照第一節，
16 chapter verse 1,
16照第四節，
16 verse 4,
先講一句話。
the Bible says,
深信看一個就愛一個，看一個就愛一個。
he just has insatiable desire for one woman after another.
哎呀，這個世界真水嘅路啊，實在真水啊！
There are really so many beautiful women in this world.
實在你想未到啊！
They are unimaginably.
上帝創造實在真真萬大水哦。
They are wonderful creations of God.
好似我看 TV 嘅時，
So when you take a look at TV,
報告新聞嘅路嘅啊，
even the news announcer,
哎呀，特別是水啊，真是不得了。
they are incredibly beautiful.
講唔是我講，我是牧師佬介講哦。
Even my wife agreed.
牧師佬講，哇，這個路也水哦。
And my wife said they are beautiful.
我誰看咪啊？有啊，實在真水哦。
So I take a look and I agree with her.
大家都真水哦。
They are also beautiful.
哎呀，上帝所創造，特個人都特個路都真大水哦。
Why did God create so many beautiful women in this world?
深信是看一個愛一個，看一個愛一個。
So Samson, one after the other, he fell in love with each
這叫
one of
什麼？
them. What's that
這
called?
叫做眼目嘅情慾。
That's called lust of the eyes.
我無法代表路嘅講話，
I cannot stand and speak for women
因為我唔是路嘅，
because I'm not a woman.
但是我有當代表大部分正常嘅男嘅講話。
But I can speak for the majority of normal men.
當咱看到真正水嘅路嘅時陣，
When we see beautiful women,
嗰時在心有點動，你有點動無？有
men are incited.
有啦，我今時有正常嘅，咱就點動。特別咱看到一間情冊啊，真正性感淡薄嘅，
So when we see women who are in their sexy clothes,
哎呀，咱實在點動，
so men are incited
因為上帝創造很水啊，
because we marvel at the wonderful creation of
但是
God.
咱就叫上帝保守咱，保守咱。
We must ask God to preserve us,
唔但係這個試探嘅裏面，
that we don't fall into this temptation.
我這個可能受真正尊重嘅神學界，這個真正出名嘅教授，已經70歲咯，70歲咯。
There's a very respectable theologian in a seminary. He's already 70 years
有
old.
一擺有一個學生記者伊講話，
One time there was a visiting student.
這個學生已經40歲歲咯，
The student was already about 40
已經
years
這個
old,
PhD degree 嘅人，就係神學博士嘅人。
and he's in fact a PhD holder.
呢個人講話以後，大家去參觀去食。
So after they talked, they went to a restaurant.
等於啲俾你去參觀嘅時陣，
Before they get into the
哎呀，忽
restaurant,
然間有一個女嘅經過，
there was a woman who passed
哎
by,
呀，少年，
very young,
身材水啊，
beautiful and sexy.
哎呀，穿嘅衫是無夠保安呢個。
Their clothes are very revealing.
哎呀，伊講這個40歲嘅博士看到這個女嘅時候，忽然間目睭就受吸引咯。
So this 40-year-old PhD student was staring at the woman.
伊講伊目睭就對這個女叫
So his eyes wandered towards the
忽
direction
然
of the
間記
woman.
得，呢個 professor 啲嘅咩？忽然間記得，
He suddenly came to his senses and he knew that his teacher was standing right beside him.
排車。
He said, I'm so sorry.
哎呀，排車。
I'm terribly sorry.
伊講我唔盲，下班我嗱70歲哦，有通及你上群。
I hope that one day when I reach the age of 70, I would be like you.
伊小咪教這個人嘅講一句話，
He never thought that the 70-year-old professor would reply this way.
伊講驚，
He said, son,
頭先我目睭是第二塊，
because my eyes also wandered towards the direction of
我
the
是叫
beautiful
做保
woman.
守瓜，保守瓜。
In fact, I even asked God to preserve me as well.
哎呀，叫做幫襯人。
May God help us.
世界真正清楚這項大事，世界真正萬大清楚。
This lesson is clear.
世界就因你嗱目睭啦，吸進去，你嘅紙就出去。
So when you indulge in the lust of the eyes, even your money, you have to pay extra.
你看當中嘅廣告，
If you look at the advertisements,
嗰隻嘅廣告唔是用吸進你嘅目睭，
not a single one is not appealing to the eyes.
你有發現這項大事喎？
And you notice this.
你嗱看當中嘅部數嘅 picture 都真萬大水。
So if you look at brochures of any product, they are also beautiful.